Hello guys and welcome back to HJW Gaming and yet another season update from my Rings of Power server. Currently it is day 28 and you can see at the moment we are sitting with the Renowned Creator badge, and I'll give a little bit of an update on that, but I should probably first say that I think that's going to change very, very imminently. Whilst I'm recording this video, we are currently taking and sieging Dol Guldur. As you can see, we started a couple of minutes ago and we're about halfway through the siege already, so it'll probably be taken during the length of this recording. But let's first look at the map. There hasn't been a huge amount of change since my previous update. As you can see, most teams have stalemated against each other in the various different locations. Looking up at, of course, where we are in the, and when I say we, of course I mean my Fellowship home, along with our Kingdom partner mine, we are still sat up around the Troll Shores and North Downs area. You can see here there's quite a lot of fighting happening around here in North Downs, up by this pass. Just like this report, I think we've been knocked off the pass just here. So as you can see, looking at the map, most teams are pretty much stalemated against each other. For my Fellowship home, of course, and mine, our Kingdom partner, we're still fighting around the North Downs and Troll Shores areas, as you can see here. We're mainly fighting across this pass near Rivendell, and as I say it, we literally take Dol Guldur then and then. So that should see us progress to I believe, the ring title, whatever the overall name for that is, Renowned Conqueror. There we go. So we now have the Renowned Conqueror badge in, which is great to see, and currently on 1,400 season medals, which is great to see. But this is where primarily most of our fighting's gone on. You can see the pin here is currently around 20 million, similar to what it was last time, and we've mostly been just going back and forth. And primarily this has been credit to Bull and Illil on this pass side, who have been kind of showing a masterstroke in pass warfare, in the sense that when they know that we're going to be attacking, they always have armies amassed here, and when they do get to around that point where they think we're going to start arranging for an attack, they send a huge wave through. They've been doing this once in the morning and once at night, every single day for the last week, and they basically get to the point where they've cleared out the two Fellowship fortresses sitting around here, and then they pull back to their pass side and regenerate, ready for their next push to take out our Fellowship fortresses, which is very, very smart from them and very well played, because it means that we can't attack their side, but they, of course, can continue to attack and take our side, as we're only protected by a crossing where they're protected by a pass. So the advantage is definitely being used well by themselves, and they're doing a great job when they have that push of not overstretching themselves and trying to do too much. They just drive, get what they need, and then pull back again. It's really, really impressive. And they are still fighting as well, Bull mainly. It's only a smaller ping here around Troll Shores as well, as you can see here. This is just over a crossing, which we're not really pushing over. Just a little bit of PvP back and forth, but the primary PvP is up here at this pass at Rivendell, as I said. You see there's a couple of other smaller battle pings floating around with EEWR, which I mentioned in the last video, who were another Fellowship who spawned in the same regions as Bull and Illil, but didn't have successful relations with them. Moving down south from here, down towards Durin's Vale. Of course, last time you saw us push through Moria, which was just here, which we pushed through this Moria Pass, which of course gave us control of the Durin's Vale region. We've since pushed up and captured a region as well, or a region, whatever it's pronounced, just to link up our kingdom all the way through. So we have this kind of border with the central passes kind of protected, so there's can be no progression that way. And you can see there's been a little bit of PvP around there with Green Kingdom, which is Dant and Legion, I believe, who are still a kingdom. It might actually be just Dant at this point. I can't fully remember, because I note that obviously the greens dropped off the map, but that might just be because it's unlinked. We'll see when we look at the Fellowship rankings. But there's a fair bit of PvP here, nearly 10 million. Again, primarily related to, as you can see, a big push here going on at the minute from them, driving across Durin's Vale. And then we have this pass just here as well, which we need to try and capture, just to cut them off from Durin's Vale. So Dant's still very, very active and protecting their primary spawn regions. But most of our finds, you can see from the battle ping, so we've got 8.5 million there, 2.5 there. Most of it sitting in this big ping up here at the pass with Illil. Now, if we look down the south, we then have the progression of the two other eastern teams as well, who, of course, have been fighting against the west. And the first of these two sits here, which is with, so you have Grind, Flame fighting primarily. Of course, you do have their sister fellowships in Cats and FSFA as well. And between these two, you've got about 5 million ping. And then there's another million down here from Queen fighting Pelg, who I think are another fellowship within the server. At one point, they did actually own Pelagia, I believe, but they've since been pushed away from there. So the main ping here is Grond with Flame here. It's not a massive ping, about 4 million, but you can see they're having scraps currently around Dunharrow, which has been taken by Grond. And they're kind of, you can see there's progression towards Edoras, which appears to currently be under siege and be just about to flip, judging from the fact that it's literally going through its occupied timer now. So Grond are literally just about to take Flame's primary capital, rewards capital in Edoras as we speak at the moment. Any other fights? So you can see there's more fighting here around Dunharrow, as I said. And then we've got Queen fighting Pelg as well, which is one of those fellowships that never formed a kingdom. But we did see in the last video they had taken a couple of different keeps and were kind of fighting against anyone and everyone within that region. And then similarly, we have King and Queen as well, who have continued to push through the kind of Darklands region. You can see a lot of battles going on here. So we have Legion, who it would appear, I think they're still part of the kingdom, but as I said, I'll check that in a moment. Legion, the primary fight here with 12.5 million. Two other red pings up here, which is with Banish. So Banish got 6 million there, and the second one being 5 million. So another 10 million up here. So there's nearly 20 million worth of pings coming from King and Queen here as well with their adversaries. So a lot of very, very good pings here. You can see warfare going on basically on all around the map. There's got to be 10, 12 pings here, which is great to see. FSFA and Grond have also been fighting again with Soul, who I believe popped up trying to take one of these keeps around here. So they've had to kind of push them back to keep control of that region. But yeah, primarily not a huge amount of map progression, basically. There's not been a lot of to and froing. The only things that will have changed massively in that week, of course, will be Dol Guldur just being taken and also Edoras about to move into Grond's hands as well. As far as current rewards, how are we looking? So, of course, my kingdom is this dark purple. We currently have possession of Khan Durm, Gundabad, the Bush Kala, Dol Guldur, and then Rivendell as well. So we're currently in possession of 5 capital rewards regions and Dol Guldur, which is what grants us that renowned conqueror badge. So we don't need any more capitals personally, so we don't need to really push to kind of take any more capitals from anyone else. If we look over here, of course, there is one more capital remaining over here in the Grey Havens, which is the current capital of the Ilil Bull Kingdom. I can't fully speak for what decisions will be made, but I don't think anyone will, not saying that we would even be able to take it, but I don't think we would push to try and take it, as I think Ilil Bull have been active and responsive and aggressively pushing for their objectives all the way through the season, and so there's no reason they shouldn't end without. There's no reason they shouldn't end with a capital, basically. So they definitely deserve rewards. So I don't think we'll be pushing for that, but I don't speak, of course, solely for my fellowship and my kingdom. It might be taken out of my hands, but I would like to see them end definitely with rewards. Of course, we're a long way off. Yeah, we're only 28 days into the server. There's still quite a lot of time left. So for all we know, things could flip up massively, it should be said. But Green Kingdom as well. So they currently have, if it'll let me select it, Orthanc as well. So that's Green Kingdom's primary capital rewards. Down here, they have lost the ones they had in the south. So yeah, that's their current rewards single capital as well. And similar to Ilil and Bull, I would like to see them end with capitals, but not kind of my decision. Moving over towards Grond and FSFA, they have Erebor, which of course was their first primary capital. And then as they've pushed through this central region, they've also picked up Riders Berg, which I believe they picked up from Legion. And then they're going to be taking, when the occupied timer expires, Edoras as well from Flame. So they will have 3 capital rewards as things currently stand. Then we have King and Queen as well, who currently have Kineland in the Rune region, They have Barad-dûr in Mordor, and then they also have Minas Tirith. So an interesting spread of capitals there. Evil men, Mordor orcs, men. So an interesting spread. But again, 3 capital rewards currently sitting with King and Queen. So it's quite a good spread here of rewards around the server as things stand. But as I said, I think in the first video that we did, there's so many fellowships here that people are going to be left without rewards. There's not a huge amount you can do about that, really. But it's great to see so many teams having capitals and so many fights currently going on the map. Looking at leaderboards, affluence-wise, we have... I'm sitting down here in 157th, doesn't matter too much. As we haven't moved around the map, there hasn't been a lot of tiles to pick up. And to be honest, my production's been enough to sustain the battle that it hasn't mattered too much. I've pretty much solely fought with tier 2 knights throughout the season, so any more production would just be wasteful, to be honest. I don't see the value in cataphracts more through a time front than resources. So for now, I'm going to continue using those, and I've got more than enough resources for that. But there's a lot of people who are very, very high here in the production. Top, of course, being Malrond, who's sat at over 70k affluence. So I imagine he's got some kind of ridiculous production going on. But yeah, great to see. Merit-wise, we're about the same place we were previously in 24th. I'm almost half surprised to see that, actually, as I'm turning on at the end of my day. And when I looked at this at the start of the day, I think I was about 16th, 17th. So I've definitely missed a big chunk of warfare going on in the middle of today. So I'll have to try and catch that back up. But you can see that 1.7 million spans from 26th all the way up to 20th. And even then, 200k gets you all the way up into the top, well, up to 11th. So there's not a huge amount separating people at all. One big battle makes a huge amount of difference. Even then, there's only 500k up to the top 4. So, but the top 2 out in front, deserving their credit, are Tharwin and Sokobi Timur, who are miles out in front at the minute with 2.8 million each in merit, which is very, very impressive. Great from them. And you can see here there's quite a lot of our kingdom here. In fact, the top 8, the only person who doesn't sit in our kingdom is Yayan from Grond, but a very impressive 2 million from him, which is particularly impressive when you consider that they are a Season 3 fellowship. So he's definitely been getting some great output from a Season 3 account there. But you can see there's a lot of home and mines sitting there, even as we get all the way down to so you get to 13th before you find another person who's not on our fellowship, and you can just see how much heavy lifting kind of these players have been doing, which is really impressive from them, the output that they've been getting. And it's also, of course, credit to our opponents who haven't thrown in the towel. We do sometimes see that strategy being used where people basically say, I'm not going to win the server, so I'm not going to play it at all. So it's credit to our opponents for continuing on with the server and obviously fighting to keep their rewards, which, as I said, I hope that they do, because they do deserve it. But yeah, everyone in this list, very, very impressive. And curse be to those sitting between 17th and 23rd, because you're the ones who jumped me today. Of course, only joking. Fellowship affluence-wise, people won't be surprised to see there's not a huge amount of movement here either. Home mine sitting at the top with our kingdom. Then we have Grond actually have jumped up to 3rd here, which is the primary change. And that's, of course, as they've swept through that central region, they have picked up a lot of resources from Flame, which sees them drop down to 8th. And then we have Bull in 4th as well, and Ilil are still down in around 10th as a result, as I discussed in the last video, of their loss of lands where their primary farms were sat in those regions near that central column, which was picked up by my kingdom. So they did drop quite heavily. And again, that's particularly impressive that they're fighting with kind of reduced resources and still doing very, very well. So I was right that Dantan Legion have split their kingdom away. I thought they had done. Legion here, you can see, got a green badge, which is what was confusing me, but they're no longer in Dant's kingdom. As you can tell, Dant has this kind of green banner and Legion just has the badge. So they're not currently part of the same kingdom. Flame, similarly, no longer seems to be in a kingdom with cats. I'm assuming that's as a result of losing capital potentially, but not 100% sure. Basically, there seems to be a lot of trading of kingdoms going on around here, which I'm not fully up to date on why that's happened, but a lot of people seem to be changing around. Banished, similarly, splitting away from Tomb, and Tomb have pretty much dropped off the radar altogether, down in 19th, with that kind of separationist movement that I mentioned in the last video, with Val H sitting one rank above them in 18th, and of course, none of those being in a kingdom together at all. So basically, this server is just kind of all over the place at the minute. You have a lot of warfare, a lot of rivalry, and a lot of betrayal all around the place. So, yeah, I can't personally speak on a lot of it, but it's quite interesting to see things going back and forth, and it's great to see the server still being active. Commander-wise, we have started seeing our first level 50s. Of course, Sokobi actually surprisingly getting here first, but I think that's because Malron's taken himself off the leaderboard. So Sokobi being top, I think Malron made it there first, but has dropped himself off the leaderboard since. He definitely was on here before. Yeah, Sokobi with his Dane here doing particularly well. So Commander Stark's Dane sitting on here as well. Again, another great commander. Mine done as well, followed by It Kingler. Particular Dane that's been causing me absolute havoc during this season. I think it zeroed me about 15 times, which has happened pretty much every time we've been in the server with Bull. I've always been, it always destroys me. I can't work out how to counter. We have a Saruman sat here as well from King Rick, which is great to see. Great gear, and level 50 as well, great to see. Generally, I think same as last video, almost all very, very meta commanders, not a huge amount of difference here from what you would usually see being used of the kind of metaphor with one or two slightly different commanders being spread around. You know, you might use Gil Galad and Gandalf the White instead of Sauron and Gandalf the White, but generally everyone's teams, by and large, are very, very similar. Other than Pappy Wrath, actually, is using a couple of different ones at the minute. But our own commanders are not quite there yet. We're not far off 500k, so another day or two, and I should hit that level 50 with Dane Ironfoot, which is great to see. Shadow as well, about 1 million off, so a couple more days for him. But he's actually been performing particularly well for me this season. I'm very, very happy with the change I made to add him to my formation over Aragorn, King of Men. I definitely think he stepped me up a level, which is helping me to stay in that very high kind of merit ranking at the minute. I did sub in King of Men a little bit and gave him a bit of a try, and the results were not great, so definitely made a good choice to put in Shadow. And then we got Gandalf the White and Sauron sitting about 1 million XP. So again, they're a couple of days behind Sauron, but all should reach level 50 before the end date of the server. We've had quite a few good reports and some bad as well. I mentioned it, Kingler's Dane always absolutely pars us, and at the minute, it looks like that's happened again today. So we do have this Dane here. And the issue we have, of course, is that he runs this really interesting mixed comp between small, medium, and large. And because he knows I almost always use medium units at the minute, he keeps putting Cave Trolls on his Bayon, and it just absolutely smashes me for damage. So maybe if I want to counter it, I should try varying up my comp a little bit, but and stop being so predictable. But it's just easier to keep a huge number of one unit in the keep, so I can just keep reinforcing whenever possible. The reason I like this comp is it definitely punches way above its weight from what I've seen. I like Shires on one of my damage dealers to keep damage away from them when they're very, very squishy. Of course, the problem with this, as it does, it kind of increase the damage taken by your other DD. So in this case, my Shadow is usually the first to die when I then get a follow-up fight afterwards. However, I like keeping Dane alive as he has such huge damage potential. I want him to survive all 10 rounds to get the maximum out of him in particular. And of course, all this means is I think it's worth that trade-off of putting. So if you consider there's, say, a 25% chance of each of these comms being hit when I get in the battle, if I put Shires on, that changes it all to 33%. So if I can look at it two different ways. You can look at it as an extra 8% chance that Shadow gets hit, which when he's very, very squishy, he will die that little bit quicker. However, it also means there's a 66% chance one of my better tanking commanders takes the hit, which is obviously higher than the 15% before. So I think the trade-off is worthwhile. Of course, Shires are very, very expensive, so I can't run them all the time, but I do find the trade-off very, very valuable, particularly in one-off fights, which is the case here, up against one of Ilil's very strong players, Zenith 4 here on the Sauron, R15 on the Dane as well, R10 on the Gandalf, and R8 on the Saruman. You can see it's pretty close gear-wise, but generally the gear and respect is probably in advance of our own, and we then get this result, which we get the victory, and it's quite a heavy victory as well. So I definitely think the comp is partly responsible for that. So yeah, great report in this case. So yeah, not a huge amount to provide in this update, to be honest. But the main thing is seeing Home and Mine take Dol Guldur, which hopefully will mean that we end the season with the ring title. We'll see what happens with other capitals, and I'll provide an update before the end of the season, especially hopefully showing my commanders hitting level 50, which is great to see. But yeah, the main thing here being Dol Guldur currently sitting in our hands. A lot of time still left on this server. There's almost double the amount of time left, so there's plenty more twists and turns that could come along the way. But hopefully it does end within our hands. One last thing to kind of run through. For those who haven't seen the video on my channel already, there is a new event server coming on the 13th of December 24, which will open similar to a Season 1 server where everyone gets a fresh reset on this server, and you can run it in parallel with your main server. So I will be running this account, and also within the same account, I'll have another character on the new event server starting on 13th of December. If you haven't seen the video on this event, I highly recommend you check it out, as if you pre-register and join with me, you get pre-registration rewards, and also you get the chance to join my team. Of course, we will be trying to push for that win against the other 2 content creators within our server. So check that video out, and please come and join my team. Anyway, that's everything I wanted to cover. With that, I've been HJW Gaming, and I really hope to see you on the next one.